Imagine getting thumped by your biggest rivals on home turf. Or losing the match of the season in the worst way possible. These are the 20 most humiliating defeats in football history. And first up, it's a moment I'm pretty sure Barcelona fans would 8-2 remember. In 2020, the world was in lockdown mode and football was put on pause until it came back. As part of the new phase of Champions League games, the home and away format was removed, meaning when Bayern and Barcelona got drawn against each other, the match was going to be a single leg taking place in Portugal. It was supposed to be tough. I mean, that Barca team had guys like Messi, Suarez, Gerard Piqué, and Sergio Busquets in it, but Bayern was on a different mission. For these guys, it wasn't just about winning. They wanted to win and make a statement too. And in the end, the game exploded.
On to Lewandowski and then back to Muller. And the man who always seems to score big goals in big games for Bayern Munich.
Told you every Barca fan would hate to see it. That 8-2 scoreline brings a lot of bad memories, not just to Barcelona fans, but to Arsenal fans as well. 2012 was a complete disaster. The Gunners were facing Manchester United at Old Trafford, and given the history between the two and how tight matches like this had always been, I don't think anyone would have been prepared for what was coming next.
Young has a go. Great corner! Oh, sensational! Ashley Young's first goal for Manchester United. I'm not sure he'll ever get a better one. Scream.
To simply put it, Arsenal got mauled. Rooney got a brace, Nani got a brace, Ashley Young scored. It was complete chaos. And the worst part is, United even looked like they could have got more if they wanted to. It was that bad. Arsenal has seen a lot of crazy results like this over the years. The painful part is they usually end up on the wrong side. The 8-2 here was a big one. And when the German machines came to town in 2016, they got steamrolled. Arsenal somehow made it out of a Champions League group with PSG in it in 2017, finishing in second place, and their reward for that was a match against Bayern Munich in the round of 16. The first leg went wrong. They lost 5-1 at the Allianz Arena, meaning they were up against the odds. At the time, no team had come back from a 4 defeat in Champions League history, but Arsenal looked like they'd have plans to change that when Theo Walcott put them ahead, 5-2 on aggregate. Arsenal needed to score 3 goals now, and that's where the problem came in. Kind of feels like the goal Arsenal scored got Bayern upset. They took the game up another level, and by the end of the 90 minutes, it was awful.
In the meantime, here's Robben. Robben's in! Robben scores, and that's it now. Arjen Robben, who started the ball rolling in Munich in the first leg, with a goal that sealed.
Arsenal got trashed 5-1, 10-2 on aggregate. Seriously, these Bayern dudes are something else. Like, they do this for a living, especially on 2 legs. Don't believe it? Ask the Barcelona fans from 2013. Bayern versus Barcelona in the Champions League semi-finals of that year, and it was all set to be an epic. The first leg looked like it'd be intense, with away goals still a thing at the time. Barcelona came into the match at the Allianz Arena, knowing if they could take some sort of lead or even a score draw, they'd have the advantage. Bayern didn't see it like that. They weren't even bothered about permutations, man. They just wanted a game. And yeah, Barcelona got destroyed.
By Luis Gustavo. Oh, sliced into his own net by Gerard Piqué. Another goal for Bayern.
4-0 in the first leg. In the second leg at the new camp, Bayern added another 3 to make it 7. A ruthless display against a Barcelona team that had won the competition 2 years back. If you're a Barca fan watching, the next one is positive, I swear. The time Barcelona pulled off the greatest comeback in Champions League history and humiliated their opponents in the process. 2017, the first leg of the Champions League round of 16 match between Barcelona and PSG in Paris finished 4-0 to PSG, and Barcelona was on the ropes. Still, no team had been able to turn around a 4-0 defeat in the competition's history. PSG's 4-0 lead should have been enough to send Barca packing. But with the second leg at Barca's Nou Camp Stadium, La Blaugrana had a trick up their sleeve. Boom, boom, boom. They scored 3 quick-fire goals to make it 3-0 on the night, and go just one off changing the game. But after PSG and Edison Cavani scored, Barca now needed to score 3 more. Mission impossible got a whole lot harder. But somehow, they pulled it off. The greatest comeback in European football history came back from 4 goals to win 0-1 and knock PSG out. On the PSG side, the bottle job was insane. How did that happen? Barca has been on the receiving end of some humiliating results over the years, but sometimes it's not about how big the scoreline is. Some results are just downright embarrassing. In 2013, Barcelona was up against a potential banana skin. They were facing Celtic away from home at the Parkhead Stadium, and given the distance between the two clubs, a lot of people predicted it as an easy win for Barcelona. Celtic, on the other hand, had nothing to lose. They could either get beaten easily or put on a show, and in one of the craziest results of the Champions League, they somehow did.
This is Tony Watt! He's done it! This is the stuff of legend at the age of just 18!
The stats are a joke, man. Barca had 83.6% possession, took more than triple the amount of shots Celtic did, but still lost 2-1. A historic night for Celtic. The thing with historic games is that they can always swing either way, something Arsene Wenger knows a thing or two or 6 about. In 2014, Arsene Wenger took his Arsenal team to Stamford Bridge with history awaiting. He was playing in his 1000th game as Arsenal boss, an incredible milestone. Wenger was also going up against Jose Mourinho as Chelsea's manager, and the two of them had had some pretty tense battles over the years. But I don't think any of them would have been prepared for the fireworks involved in Wenger's 1000th spectacle.
No flag here against Mohamed Salah for his first Chelsea goal. He's done it. It's 6. It is a record-breaking day for Chelsea.
6 goals, a red card, and Arsene Wenger shoving Mourinho. The game had everything. Except the win for Wenger, that is. Getting beat 6-0 on your 1000th game as a manager sounds awful. Damn. At least Wenger still stayed on despite the embarrassing defeat. When Roy Hodgson suffered an even worse fate with his national team, my man was gone right after. Roy Hodgson was the manager of the English national team for the 2016 Euros, and with the amount of talent in the squad, a lot of people expected England to go far in the competition. The game started according to plan. Rooney scored early in the 4th minute, but after that, England capitulated. Iceland had an equalizer just less than a minute later, and with 18 minutes gone, they struck again. Joe Hart fumbled Kolbein Sigthorsson's shot at goal, and that proved to be the winner. By full time, the English fans couldn't believe it. They were out. The Icelandic fans also couldn't believe it as well. They just knocked England out of a major competition. Damn. Roy Hodgson couldn't take the nature of the defeat. After England's exit, he resigned from his position as manager of the national team.
Kemur innkast í átt á honum, Kári flikkar Raggi Sig búinn að jafna fyrir Íslendinga. Raggi Sig.
This, though, was nothing like the humiliating curse Italy suffered at the 2010 World Cup. It was a real thing back then. Italy came into the 2010 World Cup as the defending champions, having won the competition in 2006. And at the time, it was a trend for the defeating champions to crash out badly in the group stage. Italy must have thought they'd be able to beat this one. Seems Slovakia must have read about the whole curse thing and tapped into it. Out of nowhere, they stunned the Italians.
Sliding it in! Oh, it's in! Robert Vitek! Slovakia lead by 2-0.
A result no one saw coming. Italy's defeat to Slovakia was a major turning point in their disappointing performance at the World Cup. They were knocked out in the group stage. 2 things always happen when small teams get unexpected wins against big teams, which makes for a good football fairy tale, and an embarrassing defeat for the other side. Ask Jurgen Klopp about his visit to Aston Villa in 2020. Klopp and his Liverpool were still in the early days of their Premier League title defense campaign. They'd won the league the season before, and after a decent start to the new season, they traveled to Villa Park, looking to build on it and push up the table. It was always going to be tough, but the quality in that Liverpool should have been enough to at least get them over the line with a draw. And to anyone who thought they'd lose, it probably would have been by the odd goal or two. Villa, though, had different plans.
Grealish into the penalty area. Shot deflects and it's in. It's number 6. Well, how about this? Aston Villa 6, Liverpool 2.
They hit Liverpool for 7 at Villa Park. Klopp didn't even know what was going on. I tell you what though, Klopp messed up and karma caught up to him. How? He hadn't subscribed to Mr. Football yet. Big mistake, man. Over to international football now, and the Germans, who are usually the destroying force in international football, got taught a big lesson in 2020. Spain versus Germany in the Nations League was always going to be epic, and it delivered too. Just depends on how you look at it. When Morata opened the scoring for Spain, it felt like Germany was one response away from drawing back and taking charge, until Ferrari Torres made it 2. Then Rodri scored to add a 3rd, and from that moment on, Spain ran away with it.
Para Gaia, vai encarar Neuer, vai assistir, vai ser golo e o 4-0. O 4-0 para a Espanha, com o bis na partida do extremo Ferran Torres.
They scored 6 to inflict Germany's worst ever defeat in international football since 1931. Tough. Imagine being in the German locker room after that beatdown. They'd have torn into each other. When Spain wants to turn on the style, they can. Didn't get any better than 2012, when they gave their final opponents a proper beatdown in a huge game. Peak Spanish football right here. Spain had made it to the final of the Euros for a second consecutive campaign, and their opponents were Italy. The two teams only managed to reach the final after tight games in the semis. Spain beat Portugal on penalties to reach that stage. Italy hung on to beat Germany 2-1. And given the past results in the finals being very tight games, this one was supposed to follow in the same path. The problem is, Spain had a speak squad in an era of football where they completely dominated, and the Italians' game plan was no match for the tiki-taka football Spain played. They destroyed Italy.
Around the outside of Chiellini, who tried to hold him up. The ball's in. David Silva has struck goal for Spain.
Ran out 4-0 winners in a major final. Spain cooked in their prime era. Could say the same about Barcelona in 2009. They destroyed anyone who stood in their way, including their biggest rivals. El Clásico that season was a one-way show. Barca and Real Madrid met in the second installment at Real Madrid's Santiago Bernabeu Stadium, and Barca was closing in on history. They were gunning for the treble, and getting a result against Real Madrid would go a long way in staking their treble claims. Barca came into this one knowing it was hostile turf, and no matter what, Madrid would try to make it hard for them. But in the end, it was as one-sided as ever. By the time the ref hit the whistle for full time, Barca had run riot.
Messi, gol del Barcelona.
They came to Madrid and beat Real 6-2 at the Bernabeu. The home crowd couldn't do anything but sit back and watch their team get beat. If you think 6-2 is a pretty crazy scoreline, I can do you one better and fix you up with 7. In the 2016 Copa America Centenario, the CONCACAF champions Mexico were up against the hosts Chile. Tough game as expected, until Chile turned up the style and scored in the 16th minute thanks to Edson Puch. Eduardo Vargas scored a second before halftime, and with the first 45 minutes gone, Mexico had a mountain to climb. They somehow had to find a way of getting 2 goals to mount a comeback in the game. Else, they'd be out. Their coach must have told them to up the tempo or something like that. I think they got the instructions mixed up though. Chile came out in the second half as different beasts, and they quite simply didn't stop.
Gol de Chile, 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 gol de Chile. Goal!
Hit Mexico for 7. That result was Mexico's worst defeat in international football, damaged them on the scoreline, and took their pride too. Ouch. Losing an international game with that type of scoreline is tough, but sometimes it's kind of satisfying, like the team in 2014, when Spain got a taste of their own medicine. They'd been dominating the world international football stage, but at the 2014 World Cup, Spain was in for the shock of a lifetime. The opening game of their group had them up against the Netherlands, a repeat of the 2010 final Spain won 1-0 in extra time. The Spanish had the upper hand, but the Dutch hadn't forgotten about the painful defeat in South Africa years ago. This was their time to exact revenge, and the Spanish didn't know what hit them next. They allowed Spain to take the lead just to hit them for 5.
The cross! Oh, it's bundled in! Bundled into the far post! Nothing wrong with that! De Vrij gets the final touch! Would you believe?
Brutal. Into the top 5 now, and it's one of the most iconic matches of 2012. Why always me with the scoreline? Manchester United versus Manchester City in the Manchester Derby of the 2011-2012 season. And at this point, the derby was open. In previous years, United had dominated this fixture, but now City had gotten better with different players and were ready to put on a fight. At Old Trafford, United was always going to be the favorite one, especially with Sir Alex in charge. Manchester City was sick of this though, and the plan for this one was to change that.
And Milner, Balotelli, 2 for City. And Manchester City are turning Old Trafford blue.
They legit came to Old Trafford and hit Manchester United for 6. Mario Balotelli with that iconic "Why Always Me" t-shirt sigh. United were done. That moment for many was the change of the guard in the derby. It was at that point people realized just how good City was now, and over the years that followed, they only got better. By 2019, they were a completely dominant force, and when Chelsea came to town, they left the Blues in a heap. Manchester City versus Chelsea in 2019, and there was a lot of hype around this one. Chelsea had strengthened a few days back in the transfer window. New guy Gonzalo Higuain was a reference point to that. The neutrals were expecting a close game, but Manchester City weren't. Guardiola told them to go out and play they did, man. Kepa in Chelsea's goal had a super hard day now. He watched 6 goals fly past him and couldn't do anything to stop it. That City team was ruthless. Aguero scored a banger in the same game and still missed a tap-in. It could have been more than 6. Still in Manchester now, in the red half of the city, and the day Liverpool came to town in 2021 was a dark day in United's history. Liverpool was all business. The build-up to this one was crazy. United had Cristiano Ronaldo back and Jadon Sancho back in the team, after losing in the same game 3-1 last season at home with no fans. And now the crowd was back. United wanted to avenge that. Liverpool, on the other hand, just wanted to play football. They were trying to win the league and knew a performance against Manchester United at Old Trafford would make for a proper statement win. And once that first goal went in, it didn't stop. Look at the scoreline, bro. 4-0 at halftime. Salah later scored to add a 5th. Yo, Sir Alex was at Old Trafford to watch this one. The team nearly gave him a heart attack with that awful performance. The crazy thing is, this wasn't even the worst compared to a series of bad performances United had against Liverpool after that. They got beat 4-0 at Anfield, and in the following season, after beating Liverpool 2-1 at Old Trafford for their first win of the season, coming to Anfield on the back of that win in their first season must have given them some reason to be optimistic. But Liverpool wanted revenge. By halftime, it was 1-0. Cody Gakpo's goal in the first half gave Liverpool the lead. The second half, I could tell you, but I'd rather just show you instead.
Shot turns and twists. Gakpo! 3!
Liverpool hit 6 more to complete 7-0 rout against United. Ouch. The defeat was United's joint worst in the league, the heaviest they'd suffered in the Northwest Derby versus Liverpool. Despite the Reds having a bad campaign, they still crashed United like that. Now though guys, it's time for the top pick. And at number 1, it's the darkest day in the Brazilian national team's history. It shouldn't have gone like that. Brazil versus Germany in the 2014 World Cup semi-finals was supposed to be a tough game. Even though Brazil had lost their star man Neymar to injury and had captain Thiago Silva suspended, they still had a decent team capable of putting up a fight. The Germans, on the other hand, were operating like a machine. The only word they knew was to destroy. They took an early lead to silence the home crowd, and from there, it was brutal.
German teams of the past. Oh, and there could be another one here. There is! It's getting too easy for Germany. Toni Kroos has...
7, man. They hit Brazil, the hosts of the World Cup that year, for 7. Kids watching cried, adults cried, the players on the pitch cried. It was a complete humiliation. By far the worst day in the Brazilian national team's football history. After that result, things never remained the same for Brazil. Safe to say, they've been getting hate from a lot of people, even their fans. Why? You want to know why everyone is hating on Brazil? It's all on this next video.